Good evening and welcome to today's Industry Hour for Nuclear Engineering. My name is Kim Loring and I'm the first year Nuclear Engineering Advisor. Along with me, I have Bulos Abdallah, one of the other Hub advisors. He will be watching the chat for any questions that may come up, and then I will have him ask those questions at the end. That way our panel can answer them as they see fit. So to begin, I am going to start with a little presentation, and then we're going to lead into um, our actual panel. So let me get that started for you guys. So for the agenda, we're going to talk about the Center for Career and Professional Development. Then we will go into our formal interview of the panel, and then finally we'll leave some time for a question and answers session. So what is the Center for Career and Professional Development? To start off, generally you'll hear it at RPI as CCPD. Most people don't know the actual designated name for that, so CCPD is the ultimate name that you'll hear coming across. So these are the engineering career counselors. So like you have academic advisors like myself, you do have Emily and Kristen as your career advisors specifically for engineers. So they specialize in the area. They will be your ultimate contacts. They're the ones that you're going to be making appointments with. And if you're wondering what those resources are, you do have a bunch for free at RPI. So if you're looking at internships, co-ops, if you're trying to figure out your LinkedIn account, salary negotiations, anything like that, you can schedule an appointment through Handshake, which is an app that you get. You can download straight from the website, the CCPD website. And you can schedule a meeting with them about anything. That includes also resumes, interview skills, elevator pitch. And then if you need to drop in for any reason, they do have drop-in hours Monday through Friday, 1 to 3. They also have workshops, professional headshots, a Discord server, and also a clothing closet. So if you're trying to figure out what to wear, you don't have anything, maybe you don't have the funds to do so, they do have a clothing closet. So definitely talk to them about that if you're interested at all. And again, you can definitely schedule a meeting just like you do with your academic advisor. Schedule a meeting with them. If you have no idea what you're doing, you've never had a resume, you've never had a professional job in any sorts, talk to them because ultimately those are the people that are going to help you and teach you those skills that you need. That way you can transition into the workforce or an internship, whatever it may be at that point in your life. So these are some of the organizations that may hire you as a nuclear engineer. We do have some people on our panel that have current positions in one of these. But it's not just these are just some I pulled directly from the CCPD website. On the CCPD website, they have all the different organizations that have hired from RPI, have gotten people that have gotten internships there. And also, if you're looking at salary, because salary is a big deal, they can talk about the ranges with you as well. So just something to keep in mind, but definitely start doing your research now, especially if you're a freshman watching this. It's never too early to start getting ready for your career. So I know that was a short little presentation, but I really wanted to get to our panelists because that's the reason why you all are here. So I will let them introduce themselves. So I will start with Mark.
Hi, can you guys hear me? Hi, my name is Mark. I am an active duty submarine officer. Just in case you don't know, all the U.S. submarines are nuclear powered, so I'm a nuclear trained officer for the Navy as well. I currently actually work at RPI as the senior class advisor for the Naval ROTC unit on campus. My office is right by the Mueller Center where you can work out. It's the name of the building is Armory. I'm from California originally, and I've been kind of moving all over the place across the United States and along the East Coast because of my job and my duty stations. Currently, obviously living here at Troy. My undergrad is actually in electrical engineering. Okay, my undergrad is not nuclear. However, I am certified by the Navy, and I went through this thing called the Prospective Nuclear Engineering Officer course. So I am certified by the Navy to serve as a nuclear engineer on board U.S. submarines. And I'm actually giving a lecture series on some how submarines works as well these days. Outside of work though, I like hiking a lot. I work out, I like travel, I like cooking. That's all.
Howdy, gang. I'm Gabriel, Gabriel Tambolini. I am a current student at RPI. I'm a senior nuclear engineering major. I work at the Taylor Elementary School as an aftercare teacher, as well as being a student at RPI. One of the cool internships I got, though, with the help of RPI was a radiation protection tech out at Trojan, the independent spent fuel storage site, part of Portland General Electric. Some of the things I like to do outside of RPI, as well as being a part of Navy ROTC. I'm a part of the Sigma Chi fraternity, and I love teaching. It's one of the absolute favorite things to do, and that's why I have worked for the Taylor School for the last 3 years.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie Walton. I am a current student at RPI. I'm in my senior year. I'm from Maryland and I'm getting a degree in nuclear engineering. Outside of school, I am in AGD and I also am a coxswain for the crew team. And then one of the internship opportunities I got through RPI was working at Entergy. It's a power plant in Arkansas as a design engineer. Yeah.
Um, so this is for everyone. Um, well, actually, Gabriel and Mackenzie, what made you decide to be a nuclear engineer? Did you pursue any sort of dual degree or minor of any sort?
Yeah, so really, when I was looking at kind of options for college and what degree I wanted to pursue, I wanted something that was going to be interesting, as well as had a little bit of flexibility. And statistically, nuclear engineering is not one that people think is a wide range of options, but there's really a lot you can do with the major. And I think it's one of the more unique ones out there. And I think RPI does a great job of expressing that. As well as I pursued a dual degree for about 2 years before I decided to drop it, in mechanical engineering and nuclear engineering, because RPI has a really easy program if that's something you're interested in pursuing in that dual degree.
Yeah, so I decided to become a nuclear engineer mostly because when I was young, my father took me to a power plant and I learned a lot about like through my own research about like nuclear power and like really was like about it at a young age. I also really like how the industry is always evolving and changing with like the SMRs and just like the different reactor designs. And then I am pursuing a minor in studio arts, mostly because my Haas credits allowed me to get a minor in studio arts. It doesn't really benefit my major, but yeah, that's all.
No, that's awesome that you have like you're bringing your outside interests and utilizing, like you said, the Haas credit. You can fit a minor. Why wouldn't you try to use that to your advantage? Um, so, Mark, I have a question for you. Can you tell us what a typical day looks like for an engineer in the nuclear power plant program?
Yes. So for the nuclear propulsion program for the U.S. Navy, um, I am more on the operations side because I'm an active duty member. You can join on the active duty side. You can also join on the non-active duty side, focus on the engineering and testing part. I'm more on the operations side. So for me, my normal day would be starting with, the correspondence stuff, talking to all the stakeholders, figuring out what we need to do for the day. And then we'll essentially come up with a plan. There's stuff that's associated with maintenance because the reactor, there are other parts besides the reactor we have to take care of. The electrical systems, your mechanical systems, your steam, like your steam systems, all of these separate systems also tie into the reactor plant. So you have to talk to different groups to figure out the right sequence to do the right things. And I also own I own the electrical division to start with when I was a junior officer on board. So I also will walk my spaces to check my equipment, talk to my folks, and work with my team to really make sure they have the resources they need to work on the maintenance or to repair any damages we have in equipment. And after that, if I'm out at sea, so if I drive the submarine out and dive into the ocean, then I would be sitting in this place called maneuvering, where I have two people working directly under me. One will be controlling the reactor and propulsion. The other one will be controlling all the electrical distribution. So my job is to supervising the operation associated with the reactor plant and all the engineering equipment. And I will do that for probably about 8 hours or so. And after that, and I have my own time to do my stuff. In port, I will spend time working with shipyard as well because we have to make sure we take care of our equipment so they actually last a long time, so they don't break after a year or two. So there's a lot of coordination with the shipyard, privately owned shipyards, and I also sometimes work with the regulatory community because we have to dispose um, our waste properly. Obviously, that's a big concern, right? Like you don't want to cause public fear when it comes to nuclear power. So we always spend a lot of time making sure we do it right.
That's a whole lot to think about, Mark. I do have another question for you. So would you say many students often ask what type of work that would fall in line with? So would you say that's more desk oriented or hands-on in the case of being part of that program?
For me, it's probably a 50-50. If you are looking for a pure engineering role or you're looking for jobs to work for, let's say, the CAPL or the North Atomic Laboratory nearby, just in case you don't know, it is a government-run organization nearby. They hire nuclear engineers. But for me, it's a mix of both. So for the hands-on part, like I described earlier, I would stand watch. So I actually would supervise operation of the reactor plant. I would, give permission to do certain things so that we keep the reactor plant safe and also get the mission complete. On the other hand, I also do a lot of whenever things go south, whenever we realize something's broken, I'm also going to be the one leading and leading the team to diagnose issues and approving for repair plans. Like if you take the submarine out into the middle of the ocean, you can't really call any technical support saying like, hey, I have this broken piece of equipment. It's really like you and your team need to figure out a plan, do the diagnosis process, have a plan to fix that. So in that regard, it's kind of a combination of both. And there's always paperwork because it's nuclear related, so you have to make sure everything is right. There's no maybe it's right. It has to be either right or wrong. Um, but yeah, that being said though, I I can, and I have the opportunity if I want to, once I'm out of the Navy, I can contact like Lawrence Livermore, contact Los Alamos or North Atomic Laboratory and actually go through their hiring process and join their team as well. It's kind of interesting to say this, but just in case you don't know, there's like good portion of the people working in the nuclear industry come from the nuclear Navy. In case you don't know, I think a while ago I saw that number was about 75%. Somehow, yes, like most people actually join the nuclear field through the nuclear Navy. It's a weird thing to think about.
I mean, it does make sense because why wouldn't you? It's already a small knit community. I can only imagine nuclear, like the field in the military in itself. So thank you for that, for all that information. Gabriel and Mackenzie, I have a question now. I'm going to switch over to you guys. What does or did your undergraduate experience look like for internships, professional groups, extracurricular activities? And can you make any recommendations for students about what to join?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, I definitely spent a lot of time looking around. Being here during COVID, we had a lot of free time to really explore the opportunities that RPI presented. I think some of the best ones that undergraduate nuclear engineers can join is ANS, American Nuclear Society. There's a student program here. They offer a lot of opportunities, even competitions and some traveling. What a wonderful experience for a nuclear engineering major to do. Um, I joined a fraternity. It was a really great opportunity to meet alumni that have been in professional fields. We have alumni come back every year and offer jobs for various majors, regardless of your undergraduate degree. And then, I mean, any organization where you're going to be working on professional development, whether that be a sport or a Greek life, I mean, there are numerous opportunities, but A&S would be my personal recommendation.
Um, Also, like with my internship, what really helped with like my extracurriculars that I was in would be like being a coxswain, really having like leadership roles and really like having like a being a part of like positions where you can like be in charge of people. Like jobs really look for like that directiveness and that assertiveness to like put yourself out there to really just like lead a whole group of people. But specifically, just talking about my internship in itself, I really got to learn a lot about a nuclear power plant. I got to do a lot of walk downs, understand the different systems within a nuclear power plant, not like just from hearing about them and learning about them in classroom setting, but also getting the hands-on experience. I got to hang out with the reactor engineers and see what their day-to-days are like and like what different protocols they have weekly and monthly. So like really like look out for like different opportunities at any internship, whether that be your mechanical and you're kind of interested in nuclear, like definitely like reach out to like different opportunities and see if they can allow you to go visit and see different parts of the plant because that's what I did and I got a whole different aspect on like what a nuclear power plant is besides what I just like know from my own research and from my classes.
So you both just spoke about like internship opportunities. Did you have like a favorite portion of it, or maybe even a part you didn't really like that you learned while in the internship that you were like, okay, now I know for the future?
Yeah, definitely. So for my internship, I was mostly doing radiation protection program, LARA planning, dose rate calculations, really keeping people safe, which had a lot of high degree of purpose to it. But they also, they saw that I was excelling in my work and gave me the opportunities to extend my work into a different field. And I actually got to do the engineering evaluation for a blast wall calculation for the storage site. Totally out of my scope as a nuclear engineer, but with the help of some of my team and actually a guy from Westinghouse, I really got to dive into the world of, explosive calculations, shielding from various impacts. And I mean, that was such a unique opportunity to work with the engineers from the private firm, our engineers, and really get to expand my horizons and see that I, had the tools to do that thanks to RPI's classes and some of my dual major stuff.
Can you repeat the question again, just so I can recall?
Yeah, no problem. So you spoke about internships. Was there a favorite part, or maybe a part you learned that you didn't like so much, but you noted for the future, like, oh, it was a learning experience?
Okay, so I would probably say my favorite part was definitely like getting to shadow like the reactor engineers and like see what their day to day is. I got to like hang out with them in the spent fuel tanks while they did different like procedures. Um and then I would say like probably like um one of like my least favorite parts about an internship is like the slow progression that it takes for you to like get um a little like task to work on, like a project. So like especially when you go to like be like when you go to do your internship opportunities, definitely be assertive, definitely like ask for any opportunity to be a part of anything. Like if it's slow, maybe see if you can like go shadow a different group in that company or like a different department and then just like keep asking for work. That's one of the best things. Maybe also like make connections and network. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. No, that was great insight because a lot of students always talk about like internship opportunities and like what they're gonna do. But know what? I don't tend to hear students talk about reflection because that's a big thing. Reflecting after that opportunity, see if you want to do something like that again, if you want to go back into that sort of thing, or maybe you totally change your mind. I mean, Gabriel spoke about he started a duel and then he was like, you know what? This isn't cutting it for me. And that's great that you figured that out while you were here at RPI and you can use your time otherwise. So that's why we always ask those questions, just so other students know they're not the only ones if they didn't like a particular experience. So I'm going to switch back over to Mark. So some students expressed hesitation about declaring nuclear engineering because of their concerns about securing a job. Can you give us your perspective on that?
Yes. So first, I would say if you actually go to the U.S. Energy Information Administration's website, and there's a whole section talking about nuclear energy, you will find out the U.S. Itself has 54 nuclear power plants running right now across about 20 states or so. Okay, so the job opportunities are there and in various locations. That being said, most of them would be east of the Mississippi River with a few along the East Coast. So kind of like the Midwest area. I'm sorry, you won't see many there, but there are 50 plants out there. So if you're looking to find a job in the commercial or the private sector, those are the opportunities out there. On the other hand, if you want to find jobs not specifically related to power plants, there are companies out there that handles the supply chain associated with the nuclear power. For example, if I need to build a nuclear instruments, right, I have to figure out how to get all the different materials I need. Or if we're talking about disposing waste, right, there's a whole separate industry for that. So like if you just think about it, it's a cradle to grave industry. So for those of you that wants to find a job opportunity for the private sector, it's out there. On the other hand, you have the so-called nonprofit, right? So we're the ones that don't care about the bottom line. So for example, Lawrence Livermore, all the labs I talk about, Lawrence Livermore, Los Alamos, Nos Atomic, all of those, they are government-run kind of agencies, so they don't really have a bottom line, which means they don't really care about profit. Their main focus is to really nail down on the design. They don't really care about, oh, this design is cost $2 billion. They care about a design that makes most engineering sense. So if that's what you want to do, then these laboratories might be some locations you can work for. And then you can pick the route just like me, going through the nuclear navy as an active duty officer. So you get like 50% of that nuclear engineering exposure, and then you get a lot of hands-on experience, and then you get 50% of see the world, go out and do other stuff, provide things that help secure our nation and provide things that affect national security policies. So there are a lot of different ways to go about with your degree, and I would definitely encourage you to take all these information into consideration to see what fits your need as well. And for the folks, just in case you don't know, like if you go through the Navy side, you also get $5,000 a month, like while in college, so you can essentially get a free college you go through. And all the national laboratories, they provide some level of grants or fellowships if you decide to go on and proceed like to get a master's or PhDs.
Wow, Mark, that was great information. I loved how you broke it up into nonprofit and like the profit side of it, because a lot of people don't think about the differences. So you bringing that up will allow our students to think about it and go do their own research. For a second, I'm going to put a pause on the question, and I have Madeline Waller in. Madeline, if you want to take a second to introduce yourself, please put your mic on and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you. I am so sorry for being late, guys, but I was running out from work, like I said. But otherwise, I'm pleased to meet you. I graduated from Rensselaer in 2019 with my bachelor's in nuclear engineering. When I was first looking to go to the school, in my very first tour there, I met one of the faculty advisors, and funny enough, he predicted exactly where I'd work. He said, when you're going to go into the nuclear industry, there's a 50-50 shot you're going to end up working for Westinghouse, GE, or a national lab. And you'll never believe it, but I'm working for Westinghouse right now, and I have also experience with the government lab down at Savannah River. So I now work out of Pittsburgh at the Westinghouse headquarters. I ended up going on from Rensselaer to get my master's degree in nuclear out at Cal Berkeley. And outside of that, I tried to maintain a work-life balance where I'm into rock cutting and metalsmithing. But enough about me. Hopefully I can offer some of my insights that I've had working in both government and industry.
That's awesome. Those are such cool hobbies. I haven't heard someone say those yet, by the way. So you get extra points for that. But Madeline, if you wanted to answer the same question I just asked Mark, I said some students express hesitations about declaring nuclear engineering as a major because they have concerns about securing a job. Uh, can you give us your perspective on that?
Yeah, so I'm coming from a position in the Advanced Reactors Division of Westinghouse, and I see a lot of excitement in both new technologies and old technologies where the industry as a whole is pushing towards more new nuclear. This is not just a domestic thing, this is a global thing, and it runs the gamut, like Mark said, where you have supply, you have aging management, you have engineering support services, power generation, design, and then the national labs associated with all of that. So there is a significant and projected increase in demand for nuclear engineers. I know personally, everybody that I've talked to is very excited about hiring and growth. So I think regardless of where you choose to go, whether or not you're interested in, the thermal hydraulic engineering side, whether you're interested in materials, anything like waste management, if you're interested in physics specifically, or even if you're interested in maybe more of the legal side of things or the medical side, all of those have really been looking at expanding right now, especially with the push towards green energy. So I would say that regardless of how you go into it, you'll be able to find something that both interests you and will lead to a long-term successful career.
Thank you for that answer. So this next question is for everyone on the panel. I'm going to start with Mark, then I have Madeline, and then Gabriel, and then Mackenzie follow up with it. So a career fair will be happening in the spring. Hint, hint, it's on February 7th to all the people listening. Can you tell us how students, if you're a current student, how you have navigated it and how you plan to navigate it as a senior? And then for our current professionals, how you recommend they go forward with it.
Okay, I guess I'll go first. First thing first, resume. Make sure you review your resume. Uh, have someone else review for you. CCPD is a great resource. You really, really should use CCPD. It's a free service. And I'm pretty sure CCPD will tell you that, but please keep your resume no more than 2 pages. Right? 2 pages is the sweet spot. Anything more than that, you start losing attention. Anything less than that, I start to question how much you actually did. So about 2 pages is the right amount for your resume. And really focus on what you did. Really focus on what you did here. Any projects you did, any research you did, and practice your interview as well. Interview is a skill. Do not have the false sense that you think you can come up with the right answer. Oh yeah, I'm just talking about myself. I'm for sure I can talk about myself easily. No, please practice your interviews. It would be awkward when you realize you actually get a little bit nervous and are unable to really talk about what you achieved. There's and the words you choose are also pretty important. Make sure you differentiate between the I statement and the we statement, right? We as a team can accomplish something. I as a member or as a leader specifically, led this initiative or something. So make sure you differentiate the two. But overall, resume and interview, please make sure you actually prepare for that.
All right, so I guess I can go after Mark. Personally, I found that I'm not going to lie to you. I hated career fairs, and I hated the process of going up and trying to meet people. But I've found that when you're trying to make the most use of them, you should really treat it like you're trying to meet people and meet the company as much, because when you think about it, you're trying to make a personal connection with these recruiters because you're going into something and you need somebody who is going to be willing to push for you. So if your resume is in good shape, if you can prove that you're a literate individual and that you've got some level of reasonable experience, considering the fact that you're going to be a student with maybe, 2 to 3 years of schooling, maybe 4 by the time you're looking at getting an internship and more specifically tailored to nuclear engineering, what I think you should try to do, and what I tried to do for sure, and where, I would credit having success in, is making connections with people. And it is and can be a little bit difficult, but it's always worth, greeting whoever your recruiter is, greeting anybody that you have an interview with. Make sure you thank them for their time, try to remember their name, try to look them in the eyes, and try to conduct your interview like it's a conversation, because Mark is right that it can be really difficult to do an interview, but you stand out and you'll do very well when you're able to make a conversation out of it, and when you're able to show that you comprehend everything that's being asked of you. And then when you go and turn that around and ask questions about the workplace you'll be in, what the culture is like, what the people are like, what the job itself is like, because no two jobs are equal. They'll, office work tends to be the same everywhere, and whether or not you're actually out and about, that still tends to be pretty similar in the nuclear industry from everywhere I've seen. So really try to focus on building personal connections, and never be afraid to reach out after an interview. Thank somebody for their time. Reach out by email, LinkedIn, whatever contact information you have, and try to keep those connections alive, because they will help long term. Nuclear is a small industry, and you will be remembered in one way or another.
I guess I'll kind of land from the student perspective next. One of the things, at least that I learned when I did job interview, is competition for future farmers of America in high school. The biggest thing that we always tell students when they're learning to compete is be the unicorn with a portfolio. Have that, standout that's going to set you aside from the other candidates, but always have your baseline, have the experience laid out in detail, and have some real physical work. And I think that's one that RPI students miss out on a lot. They do really cool things here, whether it be projects, homework, group work, and they don't, bring these things to these interviews and show people like, this is what I'm capable of in a team by my own. And, this is what employers want to see. They want to see the things that you're capable of rather than maybe what you can write down on a paper. So I think, be the unicorn, have that portfolio of solid work that you can show your employer. And that's definitely helped.
Another thing that I would say that's really helpful is like research the companies that are going to be at the career fair and really understand which companies like you're interested in, and then have a list of questions specifically for those companies. They really like to know that you're interested in their company, that you know a lot about the company, and that you're well informed about what they're doing. That's also something that really stands out is if you're asking specific questions about the company, because most kids will go up to a company and be like, "Tell me about your company." Whereas if you like already know something about it, like you already have one foot in the door.
All great points. And some people might be listening and thinking, "Oh, all that is common sense." And that's not necessarily true, because people hear different things. People have different professional experiences. So as Mark said, when in doubt, just go see to CCPD. It's just better off. They can help guide you. They can look at your resume, elevator pitches, any sort of business with that. Or if you already have those contacts, you can reach out to them and get their input. And also other people that are in your class, if you already have some connections that way. I used to have a friend myself that was very good at looking at resumes. So just recommend you look at your network, see who can help you, and reach out to them and be professional. So my next question is for everyone. So based off your experience, are there any course electives such as economics, management, programming, etc., that would help strengthen a candidate's background while searching for opportunities? Mark, you'll start.
I actually don't have any specific class in mind. I would say, to be, I would say though, in general, I always recommend my student to have some understanding of basic economics, finance stuff. If that's something you want to do in the private sector, right? Like at the end of the day, if you don't make profit, the business is not going to be running. So you have to have some understanding of that. Or I would also I might recommend a student to go take some classes in psychology. It, which is kind of weird to think about it, but I think 90% of the time you will deal with people problem more often than you think. and having that psychology lesson and background may not turn into a psychologist. You will not be able to read people's mind. Please, like that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you have a little bit more understanding of how to deal with the people problems potentially, and are able to actually see certain things a different way and perspective. I think that is very valuable.
Madeline, if you'd like to go.
All right, cool. Didn't know if we were doing the whole call out thing, but that works. I think Mark's suggestions are good. Funny enough, I did enough economics classes to warrant a minor, but never pursued it. So I think economics does tend to be very handy as far as giving yourself a worldview in what drives business and global trends. Economics is not necessarily a matter of profitability, but it is also something that will help you predict markets and where technology is starting to move and why. So it's good for informing that, but only depending on whether or not you want to be in a kind of position that deals with that is what I'd say. If you're looking to do something more heavily theoretical, I would advise coding. I did a little bit of that myself, and I found that if you want to do anything ranging from criticality safety to any kind of nuclear physics, say you're like a fuels engineer or reactor core engineer, you're going to want to have a background in coding because any kind of programming experience will make your life significantly easier. And otherwise, I would say management courses are a surprisingly good bet if you go into business because not only do you get a bit of the psychological background behind how people behave, but you also get a bit of a background as to how and why it is applied in the workplace. So you'll be able to start picking apart trends and say, okay, in this project, my company is using either the agile management style or the waterfall management style, or you can start looking at your manager who probably got their MBA wherever they went, and you'll be able to see what kind of management style they use and know and use that information to figure out whether you see yourself with them long term. So I would suggest one of those routes depending on what you want to chase. And don't forget, you've got a surprising amount of time, probably more than you think for an undergrad degree. So make yourself well-rounded.
I think getting into some really specific ones that you can take here at RPI. From my perspective, finite element analysis, while not a required course, is an optional technical elective that you're allowed to take. Really good one to look into. A lot of the world operates on a basis of finite element analysis. We don't really do things in a analytical model without breaking it down into really small pieces. I think that the programming is also an outstanding model. You're really not going to do anything too complex with nuclear without using some sort of nuclear code. Enjoy, MCMP, even Python has its merit. So I think taking extended courses, not just the required, numerical methods of programming class at RPI, would have a lot of value. And then I too pursued a path in psychology, more so just I enjoy the subject, but understanding people always has its perks, especially when working in groups. Um, that would be my input.
I would say, personally, like this would just help you with any career path, but like definitely like communication and technical writing classes. I feel like a lot of engineers don't really have that writing background. And a lot of times when you go into the field, like you don't realize you're gonna have to write reports or different just like write like emails and stuff. So definitely like working on like your communication and technical skills is definitely beneficial because there are going to be times where you also have to like publicly speak and effectively communicate a message across the board. So yeah.
Thank you, everyone. I always like asking that question because everyone always has varying answers of what they found valuable and what they wanted to focus on, what they found while they were at RPI. So this next question is for Madeline, Gabriel, and Mackenzie. What course or courses did you find most challenging at RPI, and what tactics or resources did you take advantage of to help be successful?
I'm willing to jump on the chopping block first. A rite of passage for every nuclear engineering student, at least when I went, was physics of nuclear reactors under Dr. Danone. That's probably one of the hardest, if not the hardest course you will take at RPI. I found it to be a very enriching class. You're given all of the materials you need at once, but it is a challenge of whether or not you are adequately able to use the class time, the material, and the resources available to you to learn it. And the way that I primarily got through it was two factors. One, I made absolute best friends out of the free equivalent for MathCAD, which is a program called SMath. Made almost everything easy. Most teachers would accept it, and I became pretty well known for using it and turning in all of my assignments in something that was typed up and automatically handled the units for me. Pro tip, don't be afraid to do it because most companies will just allow you to use MathCAD because they actually pay for the expensive version and you'll never have to worry about units. But other than having a software that was good at keeping track of the small things so I could stress the larger things, it was also a matter of working on it together with people. As you go through your curriculum, you will find that there is a core group of students that you tend to go with, and nuclear engineering does tend to be a fairly small degree, so you'll be able to work with these individuals and form close bonds and help each other with what's difficult, because you'll find that you can get a group of people and have a diversity in your strengths and weaknesses where you can blend and make things happen. But that's how I got through it.
Madeline pretty much nailed it on PNR, so I'm not going to continue on that because I agree with 100% of everything that she said. One of the other classes I took that was incredibly challenging for me was actually Psych 2310 Research Methods and Statistics 1. It's a programming class as well as a technical writing class, and you learn a lot about RStudio and R, two programming languages that nuclear engineering probably don't use a lot, but is really good for statistical models and is not uncommonly seen in economics. So I think that one, I spend a lot of time in office hours, and I think that's one of the best ways to use your time valuably if you're struggling with a class is to just go straight to the professor and see what you need to study. But I also spend a lot of time in the help manual, in the textbook, and sometimes I just like to shut it down and grind it out, and that seemed to be one of the methods that worked for me. I know, it's easy to just go look at the professor's lecture notes, but getting into the textbook and actually reading the source substance can be very helpful.
Yeah, I will also say PNR was definitely the hardest course as a nuclear engineering student. But one of the other things that helped me was like reading the textbook and then combining my notes that I took from the textbook with the notes that the professor made for the class, and then going to like the extra exam prep, and then just meeting with the TA as much as I can, and then talking to other grad students who already took the class. Those would be like the stuff that really helped me succeed in the class. But yeah.
I have a follow-up to that for you guys. So that was the most challenging. What was the most fun class? Maybe one you didn't anticipate. It doesn't have to be nuclear, but it could be if you want it to be. Was there any surprising classes that you're like, wow, I really enjoyed that class?
Fortunately, I can't remember what it was called, but one of the classes that I found I enjoyed most, and this was outside of nuclear engineering for better or worse, was it was an alternative to Introduction to Engineering Design, and it was run with an emphasis on Lean Six Sigma principles by Dr. Ghosh, and it was an absolutely fantastic primer into how to innovate and how to develop products and how to work an engineering design process. And I found that the opportunities to both express myself, to practice those soft skills that Mackenzie mentioned were worth honing, and then to have a chance to actually do some kind of applied design work were, a good and valuable experience. And if you get the chance to choose that over IED, one of the innovation focused courses, I would do it, simply because you'll find that a lot of the work that you do will be more innovation focused, where you won't necessarily have a tangible product, especially as a nuclear engineer. You have to be able to picture what you're making, and then maybe 5 or 10 years down the line, you'll see your design in person, and it will quite literally be larger than life in most cases.
Yeah, man, that's a great recommendation. That's Inventor Studio 1. I took that instead of IED. Definitely a good choice. Dr. Ghosh is an amazing professor that really lets the students' creativity kind of blossom and do what you need to do. I also made, my own design. Never got the patent for it, but had a lot more time to really think about what I wanted to do. But for me, I really enjoyed Intro to Finite Element Analysis. I love CAD, and that class is very heavily focused on CAD and using NX to do finite element analysis. Dr. Morris also gave us the opportunity to pick our final project. I got to do the thermal strain analysis for a nuclear core that's on a loss of coolant condition, and seeing the actual strain theoretically in a steel core from you know the nuclear fuel was pretty exciting, and the results we had were very unrealistic, and it would have just blown up. But it was cool to throw Morris a curveball, and he didn't even believe that the results were accurate. So finite elements all the way.
Okay, so I have like two classes. One is a nuclear class and the other one is not. So my freshman year, I took a class called Behind the TV Screen. It was a really fun class because we got to like make our own like newscasts and like make our own skits and stuff. So it really like helps with my communication skills and just like getting better at fluency with the words I use. And then the other class, the nuclear class, I would say is radiological engineering. I think Professor Tom Haley just does a great job just interacting with his students and really engaging the class in conversations. I felt like in that class it was like easy to just like ask questions and just learn. And he let us like do a lot of like outside learning too, and just like pick his mind on different topics within the class. But yeah.
Thanks, guys. I like hearing all the positives too. So, I got to do the challenge and then the positive to follow. Um, so to everyone, do you have any additional advice for students who are considering a nuclear engineering major?
I'll jump in here. I'm not afraid of it. So, if you couldn't tell already, I harp a lot on soft skills, communication, and making yourself a well-rounded individual. Part of that is a personal belief that there is always something new to learn, and I would like to try to impart that on everybody who is just starting their higher education journey. I personally think that when you try to expand your horizons and when you start to learn new things, that you'll be able to find something that you truly enjoy because you're very young right now. You're trying to pick something that you're going to do for possibly the rest of your life. So take the opportunity you have right now to go see what your options are and what you can do with it. If you really feel the need to specialize later, then that is what you would largely do in advanced degrees like a master's degree or a physics degree, where you have the time, the space, and research funding to actually get you down into the specialization that you might find you want. But definitely peruse and don't be afraid to shop around first. There is never any shame in loading up on credits in the beginning of a semester and maybe taking an extra seat or two in an elective that you're not sure you'll like. Sit through it the first couple of weeks and then decide whether or not you want to continue. It will help you to find a lot of different soft skills there.
From my side, just biggest advice would be don't limit your options for internships or coursework to traditional nuclear engineering, the power industry. Nuclear engineering can be extended a lot into sanitation, mechanical engineering, radiation health physics. There are a number of fields that require or could use a nuclear engineer. And, I think that some students get too focused with the hot rock make steam side and would like to see some of the other engineering a part of it.
Say for like students who are considering nuclear engineering, definitely like try to understand the basics. I feel like a lot of kids, when they're going through their first 2 years, they don't really take the classes as um serious as you need. Like definitely like make sure you have like a whole like I guess a whole document of all the basic equations because you use them throughout your years in the nuclear engineering major. And then if you are like considering it, I definitely would reach out to faculty, upperclassmen. Um, one great faculty member is definitely Tom Haley. He can really like tell you a lot about the nuclear industry. But yeah.
I guess I'll do a shout out to Tom as well. Tom Haley is a great professor. Very, very energetic guy. Really enjoy teaching. A great professor overall. And I also would say for those of you, considering nuclear engineering, really think about RTI is a really, really unique school that you have Linux. Just in case you don't know, we have a linear accelerator that's run by the school, which you don't really get that a lot at other places. And you're at a location where it's enriched with other industry players nearby, like all the ones I mentioned. So there are so many opportunities here, and really allows you to potentially get into some research and projects that can help you develop your professional expertise a little bit, and actually, kind of help you increase your level of like professional curiosity, as I would like to say it. Yeah, that's something that you got to develop on your own. Um, I don't want to use the word nosy, but I get nosy when I start like trying to look into things. Like I get really nerdy when I figure out, oh, this random thing I read, and start going down a rabbit hole. But it's a good thing. Like you have to have that professional curiosity to help you, because this journey of learning won't end. It doesn't matter what career you're going into.
Mark, I feel like engineers are just naturally nosy because you want to know how everything operates, whether you're nuclear or maybe another discipline. So it's a positive nosy, though. It's like you said, you want to know the information. So this is the last question I have. This is for everyone. What do you wish you knew as a first year college student that you know now? So give us your insight.
I think I'll go first on this. I don't know how many of you read morning mail. How many of you read the blast email that goes to everyone and say, "Hey, here's this opportunity." Um, my recommendation is take them. Take those opportunities. Actually read through morning mail, and if you have time, like go attend as many events as possible. You never know um, what you're interested or not interested in anything until you actually see some presentations, talk to people, and join some kind of groups. So my point is, don't limit yourself. Like go to see all those opportunities out there, and maybe you just happen to stumble on something that you never thought about, and now becomes your favorite hobby or the subject of some direction that you want to go down for your career, or something that you want to research more on. So don't limit yourself. Definitely be proactive to all those campus events and read those morning mails and stuff like that.
I guess I can hop in next. So one thing that I wish I knew when I was a freshman was like how important networking was. Definitely like while you're in your freshman year, like start building those connections, make a LinkedIn, reach out to different companies, just like understand their roles in the company, and get in touch with the CCPD, start working on resumes, working on interviews, and just like work on anything and everything you can just to prep for that after college or during your semesters not at college. Yeah, work. And then another thing that I wish I knew was also like the balance between like fun and academics. Um, a lot of times I feel like my freshman year I was like either like super focused in my academics to the point where like my mental wear and tear just like deteriorated and I got burnout. So definitely make sure you're giving yourself time for like friends, family, and just like prioritizing not only your academics but also your mental health as well.
Mackenzie, I like what you said there about the work-life balance. That was actually going to be my answer for this. It's a very important skill to start to grow, especially as you're moving out and, starting to spread your wings in the world, figuring out what it's like to balance life responsibilities, taking care of yourself, making sure that you're fed, bathed, that you sleep properly, that you have a roof over your head, and that you're getting all of your work done while also maintaining, the kind of social life that people need in order to remain healthy. So it's a lot to do at once, and it does get easier as time goes on. And it really does help when you go out to work and you can finally leave the work at home and you don't have homework to take with you. So 4 years, it might be a while to struggle for burnout, and that's, only the average. It may be longer for you, it may be shorter, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that is something that you can focus on as you're working towards it.
I guess I'll end here with just a little thing is you can't make it grow in a day. You got to take your time. Don't stress about immediate failure. You miss an assignment, you don't do great on a test. A lot of freshmen really struggle with that pride coming in. A lot of them are really strong high school students, and they come here, and it's a tough school, and they get tough first results, and it crushes them. So don't be afraid to bounce back, get up, study hard, go to office hours, and get after it one more time.
Thank you guys for all that insight, recommendations. Um, Boo, do you have any questions in the chat that are needed to be asked?
So no questions in the chat, unfortunately, but that's okay. I do have one, maybe two questions if we have the time for it. First question, Gabriel, if you don't mind, I'm going to pick on you here real quick, but everybody else could chime in. But earlier we talked a little bit about dual degrees. Gabriel, you mentioned you were in mechanical dual, and I'm just curious as to why you decided to drop it, and if you feel like all these years later, if it was a good idea, a good decision.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really enjoyed the coursework for both majors, mechanical and nuclear engineering. That's why I wanted to do it. But at the end of the day, just some of the other requirements I had on campus with the ROTC, fraternity, my job, some family obligations that I have, even from across the coast. I didn't have the time. And it was starting to look like I wasn't going to graduate within 4 years, which the Navy doesn't like. So I decided to drop the major. I still have a couple of mechanical engineering courses under my belt, which counted towards my free electives. I don't have to worry about that anymore. I would definitely recommend people come in with the idea of trying it. And, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Yeah, so I'm just curious for the rest of our panelists if it is something that students should look into doing is pairing nuclear engineering with another major or even a minor that might complement their long-term career goals or not. Just curious to know what your thoughts are.
So I can jump in here. I considered a dual degree for a little bit. I never ended up going through with it, certainly. But a couple of the folks that I went through in my cohort were actually jumping ship from aerospace engineering over to nuclear. And for a while, they tried very hard to make that work. And I think they came very close, but again, it was a matter of the optimization and the work-life balance and what's really worth it. And, similar struggles to what Gabriel had. So some things go hand in hand pretty readily, nuclear mechanical, or some of them maybe nuclear and electrical engineering if you want. You could certainly try nuclear and aerospace, but never feel afraid to at least try something, because the worst thing that happens is you fail and you can just revert back to your original goal and stick with what you were going to do and complete it. On the other hand, a minor also can never hurt.
I would like to jump in a little bit. I think when we discuss majors and dual major, minor stuff like that, one thing to keep in mind is your undergrad is not the end of your academic career, or life. I am sure if you want to succeed in, doesn't matter what organization later on in your life, at some point you gotta seek for higher education, grad school or PhD, right? A master's or PhD of some sort. So this is not the end all be all thing. You still have other things you'll do down the road. Maybe you'll get a master's in mechanical, master's in nuclear. Maybe you want to shift towards more management roles and start taking take MBA. Does not matter. Do not limit yourself. If you want to get a minor, so sure, like the other two said, that's something you can try, but don't beat yourself up for and losing too much sleep and burning yourself out through your undergrad time. There's always more opportunities later on.
Awesome. All right. So, oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say there's a very wise phrase there on what Mark said. You can never properly and fully repay a sleep debt. So always get your full amount of sleep that you need to function.
Totally. Okay, so the other question I had was another career-related question. Um, so it really seems that nuclear engineering is a really good major to pursue, especially if you want to go military, Department of Defense, or government. Um, are there other career options available for nuclear engineers if they don't want to go down that route? I'm just curious to know what your perspectives are coming from your end.
I can jump ahead on this. So besides the actual labs, the national labs and the Navy side and national defense side, there the companies like Westinghouse and Electric Boat, they've been, in existence for a very, very long time, and they are privately owned. So it's not like um you will end up just serve in the government or in the military. You can work as contractors, you can work as consultants for and other companies that works to serve the need of the government and the military. So there are definitely other things out there. Um, but at the end of the day, we are talking about nuclear, so I would say it is more regulated than other industries. So you inevitably you cannot escape or go around the government. So it's that's something you definitely have to keep in mind.
Yep. I think Mark is right. I want to jump in on this and talk about a whole lot of the fields that I come into contact with. Working in advanced reactors has given me an opportunity to see sort of all that nuclear touches. In private industry, it's not all about the power reactors. Gabriel said that often hot rock makes steam is the one thing that everybody focuses on. But when you think about it, nuclear technologies touch a vast amount of things, whether or not you realize it, especially the closer you get to specialization in sort of related fields like materials engineering, particle physics, electrical engineering. That's when you'll start to bridge into things like you can work with detectors, lots of private companies there. I think Mirion's a really big one. There are a bunch of smaller ones that provide, certain crystal growth for different detector behaviors and monitoring of nuclear power applications and other nuclear applications. There is health physics. You can jump into health physics and radiation protection fairly easy from a nuclear engineering degree. Any company that operates a nuclear facility within, at least the continental United States and beyond should have a radiation protection division or a health physicist on staff. Those will not always be government run. You can have different nuclear engineering industry interest groups, the Nuclear Energy Institute, the Electric Power Research Institute. So both NEI and EPRI are pretty good resources you can look into if you're more interested in, networking and policy. And if you don't want to go into the NRC, even though, the NRC would probably love to have you. And what else did I not hit on? I feel like there are so many things. And the last thing that I almost forgot to hit on is actually surprisingly space applications. So very valuable thing that you may not think about is you're going into space, you're going to get bombarded with a ton of radiation on your way up there because you no longer have the protection of the atmosphere. So radiation impacts on materials, radiation impacts on people, anything like that you can go into and is generally private led. So anything beyond hot rock make power, you will probably find in private industry.
I
Thanks,
think one of the
guys.
ones.
Oh,
Oh,
go
I
ahead.
got more if you have time. One of the ones that I think is missed on a lot by nuclear engineering majors is the medical world. Not just radiation health physics, but outside of America, radiotherapy is a very common treatment and a very effective treatment. Um, whether it be with radioactive pellets, gamma rays, radiopharmaceuticals is actually becoming a really popular field in Europe. I've even talked to a few companies about interning over there, but won't have the time. Um, it is a new field that nuclear engineers are going to be needed for, um, doing one dose rate calculations, but also some of the nuclear chemistry involved with how that's going to affect a patient. That's not something someone with a normal MD and a doctor is going to understand. They're going to need a radiation health physicist, a consultant to look into that. And then actually, coming from a little bit home, the agricultural industry is starting to look into nuclear for sanitation as well as power. And I would not be surprised if you saw the nuclear industry and the agricultural industry start to team up in the next couple of decades.
Cool. All right, Kim, over back to you.
Thanks. I do have one question. I know, Madeline, you had to come on first afterwards a little bit. So I did have a question about you. What does your job look like? What is a typical day for you as a nuclear engineer?
Cool. So thank you for asking, Kim. Just wanted to make sure that everyone could get this opportunity again. I'm sorry for being late, but I've got what I would hope to be some pretty valuable experience, both having worked for a DOE site and for private industry now. At a DOE site, I worked in a facility that handled nuclear materials. I was what was known as a criticality safety engineer, and that tends to be one of the more hands-on jobs. Most engineering jobs do tend to be desk work unless you're directly running an experiment, and if you're directly running an experiment, chances say you have a PhD. But if you manage to get a facility-based job in something like nuclear criticality safety, or in radiation protection usually has it too, you'll have the opportunity to go physically walk down your facility, go inspect operations as they happen, watch people do their work, and then, of course, you'll go back to your desk and write a report on it. And that's largely what my time in a facility looked like. I found that a lot of times you get to know the operators, and the folks who are operators or PhDs are really the ones who are out there being hands-on. But that was about as close as I came to actually getting a lot of hands-on experience. Otherwise, I'm primarily a desk worker right now, but I also travel a lot on the other side of that based on what I do. So the nuclear field, with all of its opportunities, is pretty vast. The bigger a company you work for, the more likely it is that you're going to be desk-based and not hands-on. But if you're an inspector, if you have any reason to walk down a facility, if you're doing anything like that, chances say you will probably get the hands-on experience that you want to have. And otherwise, if you want to have a kind of easy life working in an office environment, then you'll be able to find that as well.
Thank you, Madeline. That was wonderful. And just for time management purposes, I'm going to end it there for questions. I do want to say to our panel, thank you so much for being part of this opportunity and giving this insight to our freshman students. I'm sure you're thinking about yourselves now and what you were thinking about during that time frame and how helpful and resourceful this could be for you. So thank you again, Bulos. Thank you for your time in assisting for today's webinar. If anyone on this call has any questions, my name is Kim Loring. You can reach out to me directly about nuclear engineering. I'm happy to help, or you can reach out to your direct advisor and they'll get you in contact with me, whichever way is easier for you. But again, thank you so much to everyone here. I look forward to our next industry hour. And like I said, if you have any questions, please just reach out to me. So thanks and have a good night.